The massive space station floated in the darkness between stars. It was called Nexus Prime, and it was bigger than most moons. 7 different alien races had built it together over 1,000 years ago. Now it served as the center of power for the entire galaxy. Inside the main council chamber, 7 beings sat around a circular table that glowed with soft blue light. Each one looked completely different from the others. Chairman Vextar was made of living crystal that sparkled and changed colors when he spoke. His body was tall and sharp, like a walking diamond with too many edges. Next to him sat Counselor Zethkara, a creature that looked like a giant octopus but with skin that shifted between purple and green. Her tentacles moved constantly, never staying still for even a moment. On the opposite side, Counselor Scrix clicked his mandibles together. He looked like a praying mantis the size of a small car, with 4 arms and eyes that could see in directions that would make most creatures dizzy. The other council members were just as strange. One looked like a cloud of glowing gas that somehow held its shape. Another resembled a walking tree with bark that pulsed like a heartbeat. The 6th member was a lizard-like being with scales that reflected light like mirrors. The last counselor was pure energy, a being of light that hurt to look at directly. These 7 races had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Every species in known space bowed to their authority. Every planet paid tribute to their power. Every star system followed their laws without question. Until today. "Report," Vextar said, his crystal voice ringing through the chamber like wind chimes in a storm. A small gray alien scurried forward on 6 legs. It was one of the servant races, creatures that existed only to serve the council. The being's voice shook as it spoke. "Great Ones, we have received disturbing news from the Outer Rim territories. There is a species there that calls themselves humans. They come from a small blue planet they call Earth. And why should we care about another primitive species?" asked Zethkara, her tentacles curling with annoyance. "The servant creatures." 6 legs trembled. "Great Ones, these humans have begun to spread beyond their home system. They have built colonies on 12 different worlds. They have ships that can travel faster than light. And they have done all of this without asking for our permission." The chamber fell silent. For a moment, the only sound was the gentle hum of the station's power systems. Then Scrix began to click his mandibles rapidly, a sign of extreme anger among his species. "Impossible," rumbled the lizard-like counselor. "No species expands without our approval. It is the first law of galactic civilization. Perhaps they simply do not know of our existence," suggested the tree-like being. Though doubt colored its wooden voice, the servant creature's legs clicked nervously against the metal floor. "Great Ones, we have checked our records. These humans have been contacted by 17 different species over the past 50 years. They know about life beyond their world. They know about faster-than-light travel. They know about galactic civilization. But they have never once tried to contact us or ask for permission to expand." Vextar's crystal body began to pulse with angry red light. In all his centuries of life, he had never heard of such defiance. Every species in the galaxy knew the rules. When a race developed space travel, they were supposed to contact the Galactic Council immediately. They were supposed to ask permission before building even a single colony beyond their home world. They were supposed to bow down and accept their place in the galactic order. "How many ships do they have?" asked the energy being, its voice like the whisper of solar wind. "Our intelligence suggests they have perhaps 200 vessels capable of interstellar travel. Primitive designs mostly. They appear to use chemical rockets and early fusion engines." Several of the counselors made sounds that might have been laughter if they had been human. 200 ships was nothing compared to the Council's fleet of 10,000 vessels. Chemical rockets were technology that most species abandoned after their first century in space. "What is their population?" Zethkara asked, Approximately 8 billion on their home world, with another 2 million scattered across their colonies. Again, the counselors showed their amusement. 8 billion was a large number for a single planet, but it was tiny compared to the trillions of beings under council rule. "They sound like children playing with toys," said the gaseous counselor. "Dangerous children," Vextar corrected, his crystal form now glowing bright orange. "Children who do not understand their place. Children who need to be taught proper respect." He stood up, his tall form casting strange shadows around the chamber. "Send the Eternal Dominion to their system. Give them our standard ultimatum. They have 72 hours to submit to council authority, cease all expansion, and prepare for species evaluation. If they refuse, they will be cleansed from the galaxy." "Should we not try diplomacy first?" asked the tree-like counselor, Vextar. Laugh sounded like breaking glass. "Diplomacy is for equals. These humans are not our equals. They are insects who have forgotten their place. The only diplomacy they deserve is the choice between submission and extinction." The servant creature bowed low, all 6 legs spread wide. "It will be done, great ones." As the creature scurried away to carry out the council's orders, none of the 7 rulers suspected they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They saw humans as primitive creatures with primitive technology. They had no idea that those primitive creatures had been preparing for this moment for decades. In the cold darkness of space, the Eternal Dominion began its journey toward a small yellow star on the edge of the galaxy. Its captain was confident that this would be a simple mission. Primitive species always surrendered when faced with the Council's might. These humans would be no different. They were wrong. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. He was on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force ship Liberty, patrolling near Jupiter like he had done 100 times before. But this morning was different. This morning changed everything. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," said Lieutenant Nancy Brooks from her station. Her voice was tight with worry. "It's not from Earth. It's not from any of our colonies. The signal is coming from outside the solar system." Jake set down his coffee cup and walked to the main screen. "Put it through." The screen filled with the image of something that definitely was not human. It looked like a giant insect standing upright, with 4 arms and eyes that seemed to look in too many directions at once. When it spoke, its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "Greetings, primitive humans of Earth. I am Captain Dekvar of the Galactic Council vessel Eternal Dominion. You will listen carefully to what I am about to tell you." Jake felt his blood turn cold. The Galactic Council. Every person in Earth's military knew that name. They had been preparing for this contact for 50 years. Your species has violated galactic law by expanding beyond your home system without permission from the Galactic Council. You have built colonies on worlds that do not belong to you. You have developed faster-than-light technology without authorization. These crimes cannot be ignored. The alien paused, and Jake could swear he saw something like pleasure in those alien eyes. "The Galactic Council offers you one chance to avoid total extinction. You have 72 hours to do the following. First, surrender all authority over your species to the Galactic Council. Second, abandon all colonies beyond your home world immediately. Third, ground all faster-than-light capable vessels. Fourth, prepare your species for evaluation to determine your place in galactic society." Jake's hands clenched into fists. He had known this day might come, but hearing the words still made him angry. "If you refuse these generous terms, your species will be classified as a galactic threat and removed from existence. We have done this before to other species who thought they were above galactic law. Do not make the mistake of thinking you are special." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Jake stared at the blank screen for a long moment before turning to his communications officer. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command. emergency priority, and send a coded message to all defense stations, Code 7. Code 7 meant only one thing. The day they had all prepared for had finally arrived. 2 hours later, Jake was sitting in a secure conference room deep beneath the Pentagon. Around the table sat the most powerful people on Earth. President Lisa Rodriguez sat at the head of the table, her face calm, but her eyes burning with determination. Next to her was Admiral Pete Jackson, head of Earth Space Command. His gray hair and weathered face showed the years he'd spent preparing for this moment. "Ladies and gentlemen," President Rodriguez said, "we all knew this day would come. The question is, are we ready?" Defense Secretary Carl Bennett leaned forward. "Our intelligence networks have been tracking Galactic Council activities for decades. We know how they operate. They send ultimatums to species they consider inferior. If those species submit, they become slave races. If they refuse, they get exterminated." "How many species have they done this to?" asked Chief of Staff Amy Sullivan. "At least 47 that we know of," Admiral Jackson replied. "The Council has been ruling the galaxy through fear and intimidation for thousands of years. They see themselves as the natural rulers of all intelligent life." President Rodriguez turned to a woman sitting quietly at the far end of the table. "Dr. Helen Carter, what's the status of the Prometheus project?" Dr. Carter was a small woman with sharp eyes and graying hair. She had spent the last 20 years working on humanity's most secret project. "All systems are operational, Madam President. We have been ready for 18 months. Explain to everyone what we're dealing with." Dr. Carter stood up and activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed a three-dimensional map of the local galaxy, with thousands of red dots scattered throughout. Each red dot represents a world under Galactic Council control. They rule over approximately 2,000 inhabited star systems. Their total population is estimated at over 50 trillion beings. Several people around the table shifted uncomfortably. The numbers were staggering. "However," Dr. Carter continued, "our analysis shows critical weaknesses in their system. First, they have not fought a real war in over 1,000 years. Their military exists mainly to intimidate primitive species into submission. Second, their technology, while advanced, follows predictable patterns. They rely heavily on energy shields and massive ships designed for overwhelming force. And third?" Admiral Jackson asked. Dr. Carter smiled for the first time since the meeting. Began. "Third, they have no idea what humans are capable of when we are fighting for our survival." She changed the holographic display. Now it showed what looked like empty space around Earth's solar system. "What am I looking at?" Carl Bennett asked. 37 hidden shipyards that have been operating in complete secrecy for the past 15 years. Each one is built inside asteroids or hidden behind gas giant moons. The Council's intelligence reports show they think we have maybe 200 ships. The real number is closer to 2,000. The room fell silent. Even the people who knew about the secret military buildup had not known the full scope. "Our ships use technology that the Council has never encountered," Dr. Carter continued. "We have studied every piece of alien technology that has crashed on Earth or been recovered from contact incidents. We reverse-engineered their systems and then improved them. Our weapons can bypass their shields. Our ships can move in ways they cannot predict." President Rodriguez stood up. "The Council expects us to be terrified. They expect us to surrender like every other species has done. But we are not every other species." She looked around the table at each person. "I want to be very clear about what we are choosing here. If we refuse their ultimatum, they will try to exterminate our entire species. 8 billion people. Every man, woman, and child on Earth and in our colonies. And if we surrender?" Admiral Jackson asked. "Then we become slaves. Our children grow up in chains. Humanity disappears as a free species." The room was quiet for a long moment. Then Amy Sullivan spoke up. "What kind of message do we send back?" President Rodriguez's smile was cold as winter. "We tell them that humanity bows to no one. We tell them that if they want Earth, they can come and try to take it. And we tell them that they have just made the biggest mistake in their long tyrannical lives." Admiral Jackson nodded. "I'll prepare our response." As the meeting broke up, Dr. Carter remained behind with the president. "Are you certain our technology will work against them?" President Rodriguez asked. Dr. Carter's eyes were hard as steel. "Madam President, the Council has spent thousands of years crushing species that could not fight back. They have never faced humans. They have no idea what we are capable of when someone threatens our families." Outside, Jake Morrison received his new orders. The Liberty and every other Earth Defense Force ship was to take position around the solar system. In 72 hours, the Council would return for their answer. They would get one, but not the one they expected. Chairman Vextar was in the middle of reviewing tribute reports when the message from Earth arrived. His crystal body had been glowing a peaceful blue color, but that changed quickly when he heard what the humans had to say. "We have received your ultimatum." President Rodriguez's voice came through the speakers clearly. "After careful consideration of your demands, we have prepared our response." Vextar leaned forward, expecting to hear the usual words of surrender and submission. Every species said the same things when faced with the Council's power. They begged for mercy. They promised to obey. They offered tribute and slaves. "The people of Earth reject your authority completely," President Rodriguez continued. "We reject your demands. We reject your threats. We reject everything you stand for." The crystal being's body flashed from blue to angry red. Around the council chamber, the other 6 members made sounds of shock and disbelief. No species had ever spoken to them this way. Furthermore, the human president continued, "We want you to know that Earth will never bow to tyrants. We will never surrender our freedom. We will never accept slavery. If you want our world, you are welcome to come and try to take it. But know this, we will fight you with everything we have, and we will make you regret the day you decided to threaten the human race." The message ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. For several minutes, none of the 7 rulers spoke. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, and no one had ever dared to speak to them with such defiance. Finally, Councilor Zethkur's tentacles began to writhe with rage. "How dare they? How dare these primitive insects speak to us? This way, they will learn respect," hissed the lizard-like counselor, his scales changing to a deep red color. "We will teach them what happens to species that challenge the council." Vextar stood up, his crystal form now blazing with white-hot anger. "Prepare the Grand Armada. We will not simply destroy these humans. We will make their extinction a lesson that the entire galaxy will remember for 1,000 years." The Grand Armada was the combined fleet of all 7 council species. It had never been used against a single world before. Usually, the council only needed to send a few ships to make primitive species surrender. But these humans had made them angry. And anger demanded a response that would shake the galaxy. Within hours, the call went out to every council world. Every species was ordered to contribute ships to the Armada. From the crystal cities of the Zephyrians came massive dreadnoughts that could crack planets. From the underwater cities of the Vorthak came sleek warships that moved like living things. Through space, the Chitauri sent their hive ships, each one carrying thousands of warrior drones. Fleet Admiral Korthax, a Skarn military leader with scales like black mirrors, was given command of the Armada. He had destroyed rebel worlds before, but never an entire species. The thought excited him. "How many ships do we have?" He asked his aide. 10,000, Admiral. Representatives from all 7 species, the largest fleet ever assembled. Korthax, Reptilian face split into what might have been a smile. And the humans have how many ships? Intelligence reports suggest no more than 200, Admiral. Primitive vessels with chemical propulsion and early fusion reactors. Excellent. We will broadcast their destruction across the galaxy. Every species will see what happens to those who challenge Council authority. What Admiral Corthax did not know was that Earth had been watching. Commander Ryan Torres sat in a hidden listening post on the edge of the solar system, monitoring Council communications. Humanity had been studying alien technology for decades, including their communication systems. They're mobilizing everything, Ryan reported to Admiral Jackson. 10,000 ships from all 7 species. They're calling it the Grand Armada. Estimated time of arrival? Admiral Jackson asked. 48 hours, sir. They're not trying to hide their approach. They want the galaxy to see this. Admiral Jackson smiled grimly. Perfect. Let them come with their entire fleet. Let them broadcast it to every world in the galaxy. When this is over, everyone will know that the age of the Council is finished. Ryan switched to another channel. Admiral, we're also picking up something else. They're sending a message to every Council world. They're telling their people that humanity will be made an example of. They're promising that our destruction will be broadcast live across the galaxy. Good, Admiral Jackson replied. The galaxy should see what happens, just not what the Council expects them to see. Meanwhile, on worlds throughout the galaxy, billions of alien beings received the same message. The humans of Earth had dared to challenge the Galactic Council. They had refused to surrender. They had chosen extinction over submission. On the water world of Aquatica, the fish-like hydrants gathered around their communication centers. They had been slaves to the Council for 800 years. Like many species, they secretly hoped someone would challenge their masters, but they had never believed it possible. The humans must be insane, whispered one hydrant to another. No one can stand against the Council. Maybe, replied his friend. But at least they chose to die free, rather than live as slaves. Similar conversations were happening on thousands of worlds. Species that had been conquered by the Council watched with a mixture of fear and hope. Fear that the humans would be destroyed like so many others before them. Hope that maybe, just maybe, someone had finally found a way to fight back. The Council's message was meant to spread terror, but it had an unexpected effect. For the first time in centuries, the slaves of the galaxy were thinking about freedom. As the Grand Armada moved toward Earth, Admiral Corthax received regular updates from his scouts. The human fleet was exactly where intelligence had predicted. About 200 ships arranged in a defensive formation around their home world. They're not even trying to run, reported one scout. They're just sitting there, waiting for us. Admiral Corthax laughed, a sound like breaking stones. Brave little insects. They think their courage will save them. They have no idea what real power looks like. But as the Armada approached the edge of the solar system, some of the alien captains began to feel uneasy. The humans were too calm, too confident. Species that were about to be exterminated usually showed signs of panic. They sent desperate messages begging for mercy. They tried to flee to other star systems. The humans were doing none of these things. They were simply waiting, as if they knew something the Council did not. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty, watching the approaching alien fleet on his screens. 10,000 ships, the largest armada ever assembled. Any reasonable person would be terrified. Jake was not terrified. He was excited. All ships, this is Admiral Jackson, came the voice over the communication system. The enemy has taken the bait. They've brought their entire fleet, just as we hoped. Remember, the galaxy is watching. Let's give them a show they'll never forget. Jake smiled as he gave his crew their final orders. Battle stations, everyone. It's time to teach the galaxy what happens when someone threatens humanity. The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin, and the Council had no idea they were flying into a trap. Admiral Corthax watched his screens as the Grand Armada moved into attack position. 10,000 ships spread across space in a formation that had terrified the galaxy for centuries. Each ship was a weapon of incredible power, capable of turning entire planets into dust. "Look at them," he said to his officers, pointing at the human fleet on the display. 200 tiny ships. They look like toys compared to our mighty vessels. His aide, a younger Scarn with bright green scales, nodded eagerly. "Shall we demand their surrender one final time, Admiral?" "No," Corthax replied, his black scales rippling with anticipation. "They had their chance. Now they die. Send the signal to all ships. Begin the attack." Across the Armada, 10,000 weapon systems powered up. Energy cannons that could melt mountains began to charge. Missile launchers loaded projectiles that could crack moons. The combined firepower was enough to destroy 100 worlds. "Fire!" Corthax commanded. Space erupted in light as thousands of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human fleet. The aliens watched their screens, expecting to see the human ships vaporize instantly. This was how it always went. Primitive species had primitive defenses, but something was wrong. The energy beams struck the human ships and simply disappeared. The missiles exploded harmlessly against invisible barriers. Not a single human vessel was damaged. "What?" Corthax stared at his screens in confusion. "That's impossible. Our weapons should have destroyed them completely." On the bridge of the Liberty, Captain Jake Morrison smiled as he watched the alien attack fail. "Adaptive shields holding steady," reported his weapons officer, Lieutenant Tom Parker. "Their energy is being absorbed and redirected just like Dr. Carter promised." "Excellent," Jake replied. "Now let's show them what human weapons can do. All ships, return fire." The human fleet fired back, but their weapons were like nothing the aliens had ever seen. Instead of energy beams or missiles, they launched something that looked like small balls of twisted space. These quantum torpedoes passed right through the alien shields as if they didn't exist. The first Chitauri hive ship to be hit simply exploded from the inside. One moment it was there, a massive vessel carrying thousands of warriors. The next moment, it was spreading debris across space. "Impossible!" Corthax shouted. "How did their weapons get through our shields?" His science officer, a nervous Valthok, with trembling tentacles, checked his instruments frantically. "Admiral, their weapons seem to bypass normal space completely. Our shields cannot stop something that doesn't travel through regular space-time." More human weapons fired, and more alien ships died. Each quantum torpedo found its target and destroyed it completely. The aliens had never faced anything like this, but the real shock came when smaller human ships began to appear inside the alien formation. These fighters had somehow passed through the Armada's defensive screens without being detected. Colonel Danny Hayes led a squadron of these stealth fighters. His ship, the Stinger, was no bigger than a shuttle, but it carried weapons that could cripple vessels 1,000 times its size. "Target the command ships," he ordered his pilots. "Let's cut off their head." The human fighters moved through the alien fleet like ghosts. Their ships could phase in and out of normal space, making them impossible to target. They struck at the largest alien vessels, crippling their command systems and leaving them blind and helpless. "We're under attack from inside our own formation," reported one alien captain. "How did they get past our sensors?" Admiral Corthax was beginning to panic. This wasn't how battles were supposed to go. The Council's ships were supposed to be superior in every way. Their technology was thousands of years more advanced than these primitive humans. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human flagship," he ordered. "If we can destroy their command ship, the rest will surrender." 100 alien vessels turned their weapons toward the Liberty. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon focused on Jake Morrison's ship. But as the energy beam struck, something incredible happened. The Liberty's shields didn't just absorb the attack, they turned it back on the aliens. The redirected energy struck 3 Zephyrian dreadnoughts. Their own weapons turned against them. The crystal ships, built to dish out destruction, but not to receive it, shattered like glass. "This is Captain Lucy Grant of the stealth ship Ghost," came a voice over the human communication channel. "I'm in position behind their command vessel. Deploying the virus now." Lucy's ship had been invisible to alien sensors since the battle began. While the aliens focused on the main human fleet, she had moved undetected through their formation. Her ship carried a special weapon, a computer virus designed to turn the aliens' networked systems against them. The virus spread through the alien fleet's communication network like wildfire. Suddenly, Council ships began firing on each other. Their friend or foe systems went haywire. Ships that had fought together for centuries now saw each other as enemies. "What's happening?" Korthax demanded as he watched his own allies attack each other. "Our computer systems have been compromised," his science officer reported, panic clear in his voice. "Something is controlling our targeting systems, but the worst shock was yet to come." As Admiral Korthax watched in horror, more human ships began to appear on his sensors. Not dozens more, thousands more. Where did they come from? He whispered. The answer came from Jake Morrison's voice, broadcast on all alien frequencies. "Did you really think we would show you our entire fleet? Those 200 ships were just the bait. You wanted to see human technology. Now you get to see all of it." Cloaking fields dropped throughout the solar system, revealing the true size of Earth's defense force. Hidden shipyards built inside asteroids opened their doors. Camouflaged bases on moons powered up their weapons. What the aliens thought was a small defensive fleet was actually an armada of 2,000 ships. "Impossible," Korthax breathed. "Our intelligence said they only had 200 ships." "Your intelligence was 50 years out of date," Jake replied. "We've been preparing for this day since we first learned you existed. Did you think we would just sit around waiting for you to destroy us?" The battle turned into a massacre. The alien ships, designed for overwhelming primitive species, were completely unprepared for human tactics. They fought like bullies used to picking on the weak. Humans fought like warriors defending their families. Human fighters swarmed through the alien fleet like angry wasps. Each one was faster and more maneuverable than anything the aliens had. They struck at weak points, disabled engines, and left massive alien ships drifting helplessly in space. The quantum weapons continued their deadly work. Every shot that hit an alien vessel destroyed it completely. The aliens' shields and armor were useless against weapons that attacked from dimensions they couldn't even detect. "Admiral," his aide said quietly, "we've lost 60% of the fleet. Maybe we should retreat." Korthax looked at his screens. Where moments before there had been 10,000 proud warships, now there were burning wrecks and debris fields. The humans had turned the greatest fleet in galactic history into scrap metal. "Send a message to the human fleet," he said finally. "Tell them we surrender. Tell them we were wrong." But Jake Morrison's response was cold and final. "You came here to commit genocide. You threatened to exterminate 8 billion innocent people. There's no surrender for beings like you." The human attack continued with ruthless efficiency. Within an hour, the mighty Grand Armada was nothing but floating wreckage. The fleet that was supposed to terrorize the galaxy into submission had been destroyed by the very species they thought was primitive. As the last alien ship exploded, Jake opened a channel to Earth. "Admiral Jackson, this is Captain Morrison. The alien fleet has been completely destroyed. Earth is safe." "Well done, Captain," Admiral Jackson replied. "Now comes the real test. It's time to pay a visit to the Galactic Council themselves." Chairman Vextar stood frozen in the council chamber, his crystal body flickering between colors of shock and terror. The reports coming in from the battle were impossible to believe. The Grand Armada, 10,000 ships, the pride of 7 civilizations, had been completely destroyed in less than 2 hours. "This cannot be real," whispered Counselor Zethkara, her tentacles writhing in panic. "The humans only had 200 primitive ships. How could they destroy our entire fleet?" The other council members were equally stunned. The gaseous being that represented the Nebulans had condensed into a tight, fearful ball. The tree-like Verdani counselor's bark had turned gray with shock. Even the energy being that was normally too bright to look at had dimmed to a faint glow. "We underestimated them," said the lizard-like counselor, his voice barely a whisper. "We thought they were insects, but they were predators waiting to strike." A communication alert chimed through the chamber. The servant creature that managed their communications scurried forward, its 6 legs shaking with fear. "Great Ones, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. They are requesting immediate surrender of the Galactic Council." Vexstar. Crystal form flashed angry red. "Surrender? We are the Galactic Council. We have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. We do not surrender to anyone." "Put the transmission through," ordered Zethkara. The main screen activated, showing the bridge of a human warship. Captain Jake Morrison appeared, still wearing his battle uniform. Behind him, other human officers worked at their stations with calm efficiency. "Members of the Galactic Council," Jake began, his voice steady and cold. "My name is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. You threatened to exterminate my species. You sent your entire fleet to destroy innocent men, women, and children. That fleet no longer exists." The council members stared at the screen in silence. This human, this creature they had dismissed as primitive, had just destroyed the greatest military force in galactic history. "We are prepared to discuss terms of surrender," Jake continued. "You will immediately release all slave species under your control. You will dissolve the Galactic Council permanently. You will face trial for crimes against countless civilizations." Vexstar found his voice again, though it cracked like breaking glass. "You cannot do this. We represent the natural order of the galaxy. Without us, there will be chaos." "The only chaos," Jake replied, "is the chaos you have created through thousands of years of tyranny. That ends today." Counselor Scrix, the insectoid being, clicked his mandibles rapidly. "Perhaps we can reach an agreement. We could make humans members of the Council, equal partners in galactic rule. Think of the power you could have." Jake's expression didn't change. "We don't want power over others. We want freedom for everyone. Something you could never understand." "You are making a mistake," hissed the lizard-like counselor. "We know things about this galaxy that you cannot. Imagine, there are threats out there, ancient enemies that only we can protect against." "Then you should have thought of that before you became tyrants yourselves," Jake replied. "This conversation is over. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally." The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in terrified silence. For several minutes, none of the 7 rulers spoke. They had spent so long thinking of themselves as the supreme beings of the galaxy that they couldn't accept what was happening. "We still have the station's defenses," Vexstar said finally. "Nexus Prime has shields that could withstand the attack of 1,000 ships. We can hold them off until reinforcements arrive." "What reinforcements?" Zethkara asked bitterly. "Our entire fleet is space debris. Every ship we had was in that armada. Then we call upon our subject species. Demand that they send their fleets to protect us." The servant creature spoke up hesitantly. "Great Ones, we have been monitoring communications from our subject worlds. Many species are already declaring independence. They see what happened to our fleet, and they are choosing freedom over loyalty to the Council." Vexstar's crystal body began to pulse with desperate energy. "Contact the Nexus Prime Defense Fleet. Tell them to prepare for battle." 20 minutes later, the human fleet arrived at Nexus Prime. The massive space station hung in the darkness between stars, its surface covered with weapons and shield generators. It had been built to be impregnable, a fortress that could withstand any attack. Captain Jake Morrison studied the station from the bridge of the Liberty. It was indeed impressive, larger than most moons, bristling with defensive systems that had protected the Council for centuries. "Scanning complete," reported Lieutenant Tom Parker. "The station has powerful shields and thousands of weapon emplacements. Their defense fleet consists of about 500 ships." "Only 500? Jake asked. "Apparently most of their forces were with the Grand Armada, sir." Jake activated the communication system. "This is Captain Morrison to all Council forces. You have seen what happened to your main fleet. You know you cannot win. Stand down now, and you will be treated fairly." The response came from Admiral Quokes, commander of the station's defenses. His species looked like walking trees with too many branches, and his voice sounded like wind through leaves. "Human vessel, we cannot surrender. The Council has ordered us to fight to the death." "Then you will die for nothing," Jake replied sadly. "Your leaders sent you to fight a battle they know they cannot win." The battle for Nexus Prime began with the station's massive weapons firing at the human fleet. Energy beams powerful enough to crack planets struck the human ships and simply disappeared, absorbed by their adaptive shields. The 500 Council defense ships tried to protect the station, but they faced the same weapons that had destroyed the Grand Armada. Quantum torpedoes passed through their shields like they weren't there. Human fighters phased in and out of normal space, striking at vital systems. Within 30 minutes, the defense fleet was gone. The station's weapons continued firing, but they were no match for human technology. Dr. Carter's quantum weapons began tearing through the station's shields, creating holes that let more human ships attack the structure beneath. Inside the Council chamber, the 7 rulers felt their fortress shaking around them. Emergency lights flashed as sections of the station lost power. The servants who had maintained the station for centuries were fleeing in escape pods. "The shields are failing," reported the servant creature, its voice high with terror. "The humans are breaking through on all levels." Vextar made one final attempt to save himself. "Send a message to the humans. Tell them we surrender. Tell them we will give them anything they want." But it was too late. The human weapons had found the station's power core. The quantum torpedoes, designed to bypass all known defenses, struck the massive reactor that powered Nexus Prime. The explosion lit up space for millions of miles. The greatest fortress in galactic history, the seat of power that had ruled over countless worlds for 3 millennia, was torn apart in seconds. The 7 members of the Galactic Council, the beings who had thought themselves the natural masters of all life, died without even having time to scream. As the debris from Nexus Prime spread through space, communication channels across the galaxy lit up with messages of celebration. On 1,000 worlds, species that had lived in fear for generations suddenly found themselves free. The fish-like hydrons of Aquatica danced in their underwater cities. The bird-like aviacs soared through their skies in patterns of joy. The rock-like silicoids, who moved so slowly that most beings thought they were just stones, began singing songs that would last for centuries. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty, watching the last pieces of the space station burn up in a nearby star. His communication officer was receiving hundreds of messages from grateful species across the galaxy. "Captain," she reported, "we're getting contact. Requests from over 300 different species. They all want to establish diplomatic relations with Earth." "Tell them we'll be happy to meet with them," Jake replied. "But make it clear that we're not here to replace the Council as galactic rulers. We're here to make sure everyone gets to choose their own path." Admiral Pete Jackson's voice came over the communication system from Earth. "Congratulations, Captain. You've just liberated an entire galaxy." "We all did, sir," Jake replied. "But this is just the beginning. Now we have to help all these species learn how to be free." Over the following months, representatives from Earth traveled to hundreds of worlds, helping former slave species establish their own governments. They shared technology freely, but refused all offers to become the new galactic rulers. Dr. Helen Carter established the Galactic Freedom Institute, where species from across the galaxy could come to learn about democracy, individual rights, and self-governance. The quantum weapons that had destroyed the Council were redesigned for peaceful purposes: mining, construction, and terraforming new worlds. Years later, when children on thousands of worlds learned about the day their freedom began, they would hear the same story. How a small blue planet called Earth, inhabited by strange bipedal creatures called humans, had dared to say no to the mightiest tyranny in galactic history. The Galactic Council had ruled through fear for 3,000 years, but it took only 72 hours for humanity to prove that no tyrant, no matter how powerful,